Alrighty, it is time for Valon going up against Bakura in the Seal of Orichalcos preseason tournament. Now Valon's deck has been a bit of a challenge, and I'm going to let everyone know that I have actually seen this match before, like I'm not watching this one for the first time. We, me, Cam and Daniel all sat down together and sort of reviewed this deck for Valon. So we tried the Deskbot deck, and that's just too strong. So we've tried the Frame deck. Someone did mention it, and it's one of Valon's decks that are built on this game. And we were thinking about it as well, but we thought it might be a bit too strong. But when we actually had a look at some of the effects of these cards, the Frame deck isn't actually that good. It's not really that powerful. I would put the Deskbot deck over the Frame deck every day of the week. Where the Frame deck gets its power is with a specific trap card where it can remove cards from Valon's hand with Frame in its name, and can remove the opponent's cards from the field, can banish them from play. However, as you do see in this opening hand, Valon hasn't drawn particularly good cards. So the Frame driver is 2500, it's only a 6-star monster. So that's not too bad, and legitimately Valon drew 3 of them right at the start of this match. But keep watching because it does get better. Valon, so because his armor cards don't exist, we're having to try to find another alternative for his deck. So with Valon, there is a trap card, like I was saying, that can get rid of monsters from the field and banish them. That's kind of where this deck's power comes in. Now, this deck did have a lot of synchro summons. We got rid of all of them, but we actually added 2 more of them back in the last duel. And you might think, well, synchro summons, that'll give him an unfair advantage. It actually doesn't. They're actually extremely difficult to get to the field because of the way this side deck is built. A lot of its cards can't actually be summoned straight from the hand. They have to be summoned to the field by the use of an opponent's, by like something activated in an opponent's move, whether it's they activate a trap, whether they activate a spell, an effect monster, an attack. All these different effect cards will have one of those conditions to get to the field. And then it can special summon something else from the deck. Now the Frames, when they come to the field like that though, they get removed from the field at the end of the turn as well, so they don't actually stay on the field when they use that effect. And because Valon can't keep these cards on his side of the field, it's very difficult for him to synchro summon. So Wind Up Rabbit is a card that was included in this deck that was pre-built, so we left it in there. We had to remove a couple of cards. I think Soul Taker was one. I think there was another card that was limited to 1, but I think that was it. So Wind Up Rabbit, as you see, its effect, it is quick effect. So Wind Up Rabbit can remove itself from the field of play, but it will bring itself back at the standby phase of the next turn, which means that Valon could summon that Frame driver, that 6-star monster. As Bakura goes with Goblin Zombie and goes in for the attack. Now Valon's already a very long way down on life points, so he's not off to a good start. So we think the Frame deck may actually, it somewhat resembles his armor deck in some way. It's probably the closest that we're going to get. So I think that this may be the deck that we go with. We did build another deck which is kind of similar to Darts's. It just had random level monsters in there, level 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s, when armor was written in their card text, but didn't really suit Valon's theme. It was just because armor was in the deck and that's what we put in the search bar. So we just didn't like it. So we think we're going to go with the side deck, or the Frame deck for Valon. The thing with the Frame deck, there are other synchro cards that were included in it, but because we've removed them, in theory, the deck does lose a bit of its power, which puts it more on par with the Seal of Orichalcos era. So this is, I guess, what we'll try. So Psyframe Circuit. I do forget exactly what that does. Ah, yes. So when your Psyframe monster attacks, you can remove one from your hand from play, and you can gain attack equal to the one that's attacking. So 5,000 attack points. That's where Valon can get a very quick jump on the opponent. But even so, it is still difficult for Valon to really play this deck well. So Bakura now with face down and face down defense. So there are additional cards that we can add to this deck to, in theory, power it up, like other support cards that don't really suit the Psyframe, but still in the era. But we think that we're just going to run with the Psy-themed deck. It's just that the options for Valon are so limited, obviously, because none of his cards exist. Darts, his was a bit easier. We can accept the fact that his cards don't exist, but he's Orichalcos monster, whose name always escapes me, and his Divine Serpent Gare. His two main monsters are in the deck, so having normal monsters kind of supplements their effects, so it makes sense for Darts to have them. Okay, Dark Sanctuary is down, and you see Valon now only has 1,200 life points, so it's not looking good for him. Psyframe Circuit is drawn, and as you see, Valon pretty much has to go all in here. So he decided to tribute the Ghost Ogre of whatever the rest of its name was. It's an 1800 defense, and it's a tuner as well, I believe. Or is it a non-tuner? Either way, it's very difficult. And okay, there we go, 1250. So Valon failed the attack and lost a life points from the effect of Fiend Sanctuary. So in match 2, you will see a very different side of this Valon deck, which is good. So bad thing about Valon's deck, it can brick. It can brick very, very easily. The good thing about Valon's deck is that it's not super overpowered. So in terms of being competitive, it probably won't win a lot of matches, but it shouldn't lose a lot of matches. It may just be that, you know, I'm not familiar with the Psy-frame monsters, and I don't think Cam or Daniel were either. But, alright, Psy-frame Overlord, that's the card that I was referring to. So that card can remove Psy-frame monsters from hand and basically destroy enemy cards. It doesn't have to be monster cards. It can be face-down spells and traps as well, which is actually pretty good for a deck like Bakura's, where it relies on cards like Destiny Board to get wins. So Seal of Orichalcos, as you see, is now on the field. The pot of Duality is in Valon's deck to try and farm out cards that he can actually use, to sort of give him a little bit more of an assist to try to get his deck working, because it can brick. It is a very easy deck to brick. But if he draws Psyframe Overload quite early, that card is very good, and we'll get to see it in action here. So he doesn't want to use the effect now. He'll destroy his own card that's on the field. So main phase for Bakura, and he went with a face down, and he went with a face down defense. So this is why this match didn't happen yesterday, because we were trying to figure out just what to do for old mate Valon. So turn change for Valon. It's another pot of Duality. So Psyframe Overload activates its effect, and he gets rid of Destiny Board. And well, he kinda had to, because if he leaves Destiny Board on the field, obviously Valon will lose because he doesn't really have any cards that can attack the magic and trap card zone, so, or any other cards I should say. So he has to use that Psyframe Overload, otherwise Bakura is going to win this match very easily. However, with Destiny board gone, you will actually see that just exactly what this deck can do if it does draw the right cards. So we've got Wind Up Rabbit in hand, and because there's a Psyframe in hand, it means that Bakura's defenses aren't actually safe. Even if he plays a monster like face down or even face up before he can attack, Valon can use that Psyframe Overload to wipe out Bakura's attack as well, or any opponent's attack that's coming towards him. So we've just seen Maneater Bug flip up and destroy Wind Up Rabbit. Now Bakura, 5 cards in hand, and plays Remove Trap, which is very useful. Gets rid of Psyframe Overload. And this time Bakura goes with Monster Reborn. And Monster Reborn, he has brought back the Maneater Bug, which would usually mean that Bakura wants to go for a Tribute. And Tribute it is, and the Dark Ruler Hades has come to the field. 2450. And Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is destroyed. Now, okay, that is a tuner. So it's that Ghost Rabbit and, or that Snow Rabbit, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and Wind Up Rabbit that can sort of get synchros if there's enough of them. However, it's in the next match. We do add the synchros into Valon's deck. It gives him another good attacking option, but they're not easy to summon, so it's not like the Deskbot where he can get out, you know, 4 monsters in like 2 turns, boost one of them up to 4000 attack, and pretty much make it an unbeatable attack wave for this era. So now it's still competitive here. Valon can't do anything now because these Psyframe monsters, they actually need the opponent to trigger one of their effects, as we just see here. So Psyframe Gear Alpha will get to come to the field here. It goes face up in defense, and you can then select the monster to special summon. And there it is, Psyframe Driver, 2500, gets to 3000 with Seal of Orichalcos. But you kind of need your opponent to be... Okay, now could have added Psyframe Overload. That's just not being used to the deck. Usually in that position you would want to go for Psyframe Overload. Ectoplasma is activated. It's likely that the player wasn't aware that was what was going to happen after this. And what happens after this is Psyframe Driver will be removed from play. Ectoplasma just hit Illusory Gentleman. But it's likely the player didn't actually know that was going to happen. So, as yes, I have it over the card there. So, Seal of Orichalcos, so I guess Valon didn't want to lose his soul. So he decided to get Psyframe, what's the field spell called again? But we'll see it in a minute. So card activated, Psyframe Gear Beta. Activates its effect. That was from a direct attack, or maybe just when the opponent attacks. But the thing is, all of the Psyframe drivers are being pulled out of the deck and out of the hand to utilize this effect, and they're going straight to the bin at the end of the turn, which but when I say the bin, they're actually being removed from play. So we could equip this Valon deck with a with something that can revive his monsters that are banished from play. perhaps. That is a suggestion. Find a card where he can bring back his Psy-Frame Driver, kind of like Call of the Haunted, but for the Banish pile. Now, this is where things get interesting. Wind Up Rabbit's effect allows it to be removed from the field until the player's next standby phase, and that actually bypasses Ectoplasma. So now Bakura is open to getting attacked, while Valon is able to keep his monster safe. Dark Artist, it's 600 attack. So Bakura may have actually been better off defending with that. Even so, when it got flipped up, it would have been destroyed by Ectoplasma anyway, so Bakura went in for the attack. And there it is. Psy-Frame. I need to... the text is really small on my... oh, there it is. Psy-Frame Overload was drawn. So there is a Psy-Frame monster in Valon's hand, so he can use Psy-Frame Driver. Sorry, not Driver. Psy-Frame Overload. To protect Wind Up Rabbit if he wants to. He can also use it to destroy Ectoplasma, but that may not be the best move. So, strategically, the deck does take a bit of practice to actually get used to Valon and this Psy-Frame deck. I don't know if any other players in the future used Psy-Frames or not. I don't remember them going through the story mode of the later arcs. So, but maybe they were. I did use Exodia a few times because the game kept crashing or it was taking like, 30 minutes to finish a duel because they would make like 10 card combos and the game's processor would slow down and go like literally 1 frame per second and just take forever. So, as you would see, it would appear that Bakura has bricked. He's not able to get any monsters down, and Wind Up Rabbit keeps coming back. And now we have Psy-Frame Gear. I missed what the card's name was, but another one of the Psy-Frame monsters. As Wind Up Rabbit goes in for the attack and activates the effect again, so Wind Up Rabbit removes itself from play and can come back on the next turn, or the next standby phase. So, against Bakura, the Psy-Frame deck actually matches up okay. Because of that effect, it's bypassing Ectoplasma. The Psy-Frame Overload now. Ooh, and there's Final Countdown. It costs 2,000 life points for Bakura to activate it, but if he's got nothing else going for him, it means that he will only be able to take 3 more attacks from that Wind Up Rabbit. Which Wind Up Rabbit has come back. So Valon has 2 defenses. He can use his Psy-Frame Overload to throw those 2 monsters to destroy cards on Bakura's field, and this, unfortunately, is where Valon's player made a bit of an error and didn't activate the effect. I can assure you, it definitely was an error, but you are going to see the humour of Yugioh come into play here. So, turn change into Bakura, and with 4 cards in hand, Bakura plays down just a defense. He doesn't go in for the attack. Remember, Ectoplasma as well will tribute any face-up monster. And Valon draws another Wind Up Rabbit. After accidentally losing his first one, he got one straight back. Psy-Frame Overload. You can only use it once per turn as well, but it gets rid of the defense. What the defense was, I don't know, couldn't tell you. Maybe a Dark Mimic, or something like that, Dark Mimic level 1 that can draw cards. But Valon wins the second match. So if Valon is competitive against Bakura, in theory, he should be okay to be competitive. Now, this is where we did pull the deck up. So, this is where the other 2 synchros get added. So, there's only 2 of them with Frame Lord in its name. There were others in, like, sort of in the deck. I think it might be one of the challenge decks. So, but unfortunately, we don't get to draw cards like the AI does. So, we added them both in just to give him another attacking option. But because the Frame monsters are difficult to keep on the field, it's actually very difficult to summon them. I'm sure there is probably a better way to use this deck. Might even but the thing is, with it being a challenge deck and it having banned cards, we can't just like play that anime deck, or say anime deck. We have to adjust some of the cards that are in it because it has some limited and banned cards. But overall, this is a question I'll throw out to the audience. Should we go with this for Valon? Because we don't have much options. And it's not like we could just not have Valon compete at all, but being one of the main characters in the Orichalcos series, like, we can't just not have Valon. So now in this one, so 3rd and final match, so they're 1-1. And now you see Valon has 4 Frame monsters in his hand. He cannot summon any of them normally, so he's played Frame Overload, which is going to allow him to... he can throw cards from his hand now and keep destroying anything that Bakura plays down. So Bakura starts off with a defense. And then a face down spell or trap. Alright, Pot of Duality, and in this duel you will see where this deck, where its strength does kind of lie in that Frame Overload trap card. So as those 3 cards are flipped up, they were all Frame or Frame Gear cards. So Valon just sort of has to go with one. So Bakura went defense. Valon can activate that during Bakura's turn as well, so he's okay for the moment. Bakura decides to go for a tribute, and once again, Dark Ruler Hardez has come to the field, but will he stay on the field for long? Likely not. Valon has the ability now to just wait for the attack, yeet a card out of his hand, and just get rid of any card on Bakura's field face down, removed from play. So Dark Ruler Hardez is gone. And there's another Frame Overload. There's Destiny Board, and of course, well, Valon can't just leave Destiny Board on the field. Otherwise, Bakura will win very quickly, but this is where Valon's deck actually matches up okay against Bakura. Because it can throw away cards from hand and just remove Bakura's from the field, some of Bakura's win condition cards are gone. The thing with Valon doing this, though, is that it will leave him with no card count. So it's kind of a double-edged sword strategy. So now Valon is throwing a lot of monsters. However, Bakura is unable to keep his own on the field as well. So to the battle phase, Opticlops, who's supposed to be Dark Ruler Hardez's buddy as well. So we get a running theme there, but there goes Opticlops. He is now in the discard, or the remove from play pile with his boy, the Dark Ruler Hardez. Another Frame Gear monster, Epsilon. That's a cult out of GDA 5, the Epsilons. But basically, Valon can keep knocking off Bakura's attacking forces by sending his cards from his hand to face up out of play. Now this is where we there are a few cards where you can activate and they can do damage to opponent's life points if cards are removed from play. One of them is called Grave Robber's Retribution, I think. That potentially could be a good card for Valon's deck because a lot of cards are going to be removed from play. Does it suit Valon? Like the card art and the and all that? Not really, but it's an option. It's a trap card, so. And look at this, another Psi Frame Gear. This time it's Psi Frame Gear Beta. Now they're all tuners, but you need to get them to the field, I believe, to be able to use the synchro summon effect. Otherwise Valon's pile should be lighting up. I'm sure synchro summons require you to have them on the field. And because these cards are difficult to get on the field and to stay on the field, how does this deck work? You know, how does it win? Like, Bakura has just flipped up Dark Mimic level 3, and now Dark Artist. It does appear that Bakura is not drawing great cards. But if Valon goes up against someone who does have good cards, and is going to draw more attacking forces early on, I don't see this Psi-Frame deck actually winning a lot of duels in the Seal of Orichalcos. So it means that Valon has a themed deck that's not overpowered and might produce a couple of good duels. So Psi-Frame Driver has come to the field now, and because it's going to be removed from play anyway, it means that this time Valon doesn't actually have to throw a card from his hand. He can throw a card from the field. It's going to be removed from play anyway. So yeah, the best cards I can think of for Valon's deck are ones that take advantage of him having a lot of monsters removed from play. Grave Robber's Retribution is one of them. I'm sure there's cards out there that can revive from the banish pile as well. Monster Reborn, but for the banish from play. Another option is that we can put in a couple of normal monsters for Valon. Just a couple of like machine type beat sticks or something. Maybe just to give him that extra slight attacking edge. That's always an option as well. Final countdown, so 20 turns for Valon to win. And it doesn't look likely because he can't get a monster on the field. There is a card called Mistake. Neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit was just flipped up. It's got 500 attack and it's going in for Bakura's life points. And look at this, Bakura activates Sakuretsu Armor because it would appear that Valon cannot get anything else to the field. So 6 cards in hand for Bakura. Bakura throws down the Headless Knight. And straight away Valon, not even thinking about it, goes straight for one of his Psi-Frames. Remove from play. So now if Grave Robber's Retribution was on the field for Valon, Bakura would be losing, I think, 500 life points per turn. There's Wind Up Rabbit. Again, that's the card that, that Valon used last time. So 1 tuner or 1 plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. But they need to add up to the same level of stars as well. So the only way to really do this is to be able to get Psi-Frame Driver to the field and then Synchro Summon. I think, do you need to have one or both of them? Or can they both be in hand? So now this is where because I haven't played with Synchro Summons much, I don't know if they need to be on the field. No, they can be from the hand, can't they? So if Valon drew one of his Psi-Frame Drivers, he might actually be able to Synchro Summon. So I don't know for sure, I just have not used Synchro Summons. It's the era of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I just didn't watch. I didn't collect through. Mine is the OG and GX. Or bits and pieces of GX that I remember of. And I know I've been saying I am going to watch more of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. I always get distracted watching something else. Recently I've been watching Zoe 101. You know, I've been watching wrestling a lot. You know, there's 2 wind-up rabbits now on field. And Bakura's looking a bit dicey now. He's doesn't have anything on the field, and so this will put Bakura down to 300. Psyframe overload still, well, Valon lost one of them from remove trap, but as you see from the cards that Bakura played, it looks like he bricked, and I will confirm in this last match Bakura really did brick. He drew absolutely shocking cards. Basically put the top 15 of his worst cards. Well, not all of them were his worst cards, but even with Monster Reborn, there's nothing else that's been destroyed that can actually help Bakura here. Even if he did bring back something, because remember Dark Ruler Hardez can't be revived. It can't be revived from the graveyard anyway. I don't think its effect allows it to. But with Dark Mimic on the field, Psyframe Overload actually targets that face down, and from memory, from going through this duel with Cameron and Daniel, I think it was a ritual. One of Bakura's rituals, Zork or Reshef's ritual. But it doesn't matter now, so believe it or not, despite the Valon deck not being that good, it has actually got a win over Bakura. Mind you, it'll have an asterisk because Bakura drew shocking in that 3rd round. But that is a part of Yu-Gi-Oh! So Valon has won, so he will advance through, and he is going to take on Darts next. Which, on paper, is an interesting match, because Valon and Darts are, you know, kind of buddy-buddy, but they're also kind of not in the series as well. Valon just cares about Maya. That's all he really cares about, bro. So Valon picks up the win. Raphael and Kyber tomorrow, hopefully. Then Taya and Pegasus. And then so how many games are left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So might try and finish them this week. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. And again, what do you think? What do you think of Valon using the Psyframe deck? I reckon it works, and I reckon it's the closest we're going to get. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Chumley and Mai coming up next as well. Wherever you are in the world, stay safe, take care, farewell.